If you've been watching my channel for the past couple months, you'll know that I built my own computer and I made it into a Hackintosh. The main reason for this is obviously to use OS 10. I want to use OS 10 because, in my opinion, it's just the better OS than Windows, at least at the moment. I believe I have access to better applications and blah blah blah. Also because of the price. You know, I'm a broke college kid, but I like to do a lot of stuff on my computer. And if I want OS 10 with great performance, the only option I really have is a Mac Pro or an iMac, both of which are very expensive. And I built a Core i7 system, 3.6 gigahertz, 12 gigs of RAM for about $1,200, and it runs absolutely great. And so I think price, if you watched my is a Hackintosh really worth it video, I'd say that price is probably the most demanding factor of a Hackintosh. So this video is going to be sort of a tutorial on how to do it. Now, first I want to say you have to have compatible hardware. Don't just go to Newegg and click everything you see and hit purchase, because most likely it won't work. Personally, I recommend Gigabyte motherboards. I recommend Intel Core i7, Core i5 chips. Even the Sandy Bridge should work. Personally, I haven't tested Sandy Bridge, but I know that people have gotten it working, but I don't know how hard it is. And I also want to say that for this process, I'll be using a retail version of Snow Leopard, which this is a copy, but if you watch my unboxing video from a long time ago when it came out, I do actually own Snow Leopard. I didn't just go out and download this, so I do own Snow Leopard. So I want to say that right up front. This is a retail install using iBoot NVIDIA. This is from TonyMacX86.com. They don't want you to link to their stuff like externally, so I'll link is in the description right there. Go ahead and click that, and it'll take you right to their website. You can get all sorts of things like DSDT for your motherboard, Multibeast, which installs all these kexts that you need. But most importantly, just make sure you have compatible hardware. All mine is, you probably can't really see it behind me, maybe just the top of my monitor, but right now it is up and running. However, I want to do a clean installation, and I figured what better time than to actually show you guys how it's done. So like I said, please don't ask for like specific things about specific hardware, because I don't know if it'll work or not. You just have to do your research. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first things first, you want to make sure you have a USB keyboard. I think PS2 will work, however I definitely recommend USB. And you're going to need your iBoot disk. Now if you don't have it, this is like I said, iBoot NVIDIA. If you don't have an NVIDIA graphics card, then you're going to want to go over to Tony Mac X forums. They have iBoot Legacy, iBoot Universal, iBoot. I think they have an ATI version, but I will be using iBoot NVIDIA because this works the best for me. So what you want to do is have this disk ready, have your keyboard plugged in, make sure that you can boot from a CD drive. And I'm going to go ahead and boot up my computer, and I'm going to put this in the drive. Okay, so right now my BIOS, I have it set to not boot from CD, so I have to manually go into my boot devices. So as you can see, here's my BIOS right here. I'm going to go ahead and hit F12. That's just for my motherboard, just so I can boot from a CD. So you can see here, I'll try to zoom into this for you guys. CD-ROM. Try to set it out a little bit. There you go. And so now it takes you to the iBoot bootloader. Way out of focus there. There we go. Alright, so as you can see, I can boot from different devices. On yours, these won't be here. These are what I have installed. As you saw in my previous videos, I have Lion installed and Snow Leopard, but I will be deleting both of these, and I would just be installing Snow Leopard. So what you want to do now is eject your drive. Just leave this up and just eject. So as you can see, iBoot is now out, and you want to put your retail copy of Snow Leopard in. And I'll take this time to say don't use distros, because when you use a retail install, the operating system was in no way really modified. You're just installing a bootloader that emulates EFI, which lets it boot. But when you install like a distro or a distribution of an operating system, people hack it to get it to run, so it's nowhere near as stable. Some people have good experiences with it, but I just don't recommend it at all. I recommend make sure you have compatible hardware and do a retail install. So what I did there is I hit F5. You let the disk load for a little bit, and you hit F5, which refreshes your list. And as you can see, I now have a Mac OS 10 installed DVD. So now what you do is you hit Enter. The logo, you can see here. Now as you can see, the edges of my screen here, they are black, but that's only when you boot up. Like only at this screen will it do that. The operating system is full screen. So this is a 24-inch monitor. So if you have like a big monitor and it cuts off like that, don't think that the whole operating system will be like that, because it does use your full monitor. So I assume this will take around 5 minutes or so, so when this gets to the menu, I will be right back. Alright, so the Apple logo has now gone away, and we're being greeted with a little boot menu here. And you will need a USB mouse too. So as you can see, I just have my Microsoft one. Throw a battery in there, it works. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead. I'll try to zoom into this for you guys. Obviously I want to use English because ich nicht sprechen Deutsch, if you know what I mean. So preparing installation, continue, agree to the terms, even though this isn't really in the terms, but you know, whatever. Now what you want to do is come up here to disk utility, because if you're on a PC, more than likely you're not going to have things set up the way they need to be. So as you can see up here, disk utility. And that will open up disk utility. Gathering disk information. And like I said before, I have two partitions, Hackintosh HD and Lion. And make sure if you have any other hard drives plugged in, for example, I have two hard drives. These are both on one hard drive, and I have another terabyte drive that's my backup. You know, I have all my music and everything on there. Take any drives that you don't want to get hurt and unplug them, because this is the most common way that people mess up their drives, is they accidentally click something and next thing you know your drive is formatted. So just make sure that you remove any drives that you don't want. I mean, you might think you know what you're doing, but accidents happen, so just do yourself a favor. So now what you want to do is you want to come up here to your hard drive. These are your partitions, and this is the actual hard drive. As you can see, 500 gigabytes, 500.11 to be exact. Now what you want to do is partition this. And you can always install another operating system later. For example, if you want to dual boot Windows, you might want to do this now. But you can always do this in disk utility through OS X as well. But for right now, I'm just going to do one partition. Actually, no, I'll make it two, just because, in case I do want to install something later, it just makes it easier. And I'm going to make this one 400 gigabytes. So as you see, that resized it. Excuse my phone vibrating there. And now this one is 100.11. Now, the famous labeling, name that Hackintosh HD. And this one I'll name blank. And make sure that they are journaled. Mac OS X will not really install anything but these listed here, but just leave it as the default journaled. And before you go any farther, you want to make sure that you have GUID partition table checked. If it's MBR, this will not work. So make sure it's GUID, and you want to hit OK. So from there, you hit apply, and you could say goodbye to all your files, everything on here, because it will be deleted. So you see down there in the lower right, unmounting disk, it is formatting all those. Okay, and it's now writing those two partitions. And it is now done, so now you can close disk utility. And now what you want to do is select, Hackintosh HD, whichever one you want. Click Customize. And this isn't necessary, but this just makes the installation faster. And if you want printer support, you can go by nearby and popular printers. That's what I recommend. Additional fonts, sure, why not? Language translations is very wasteful. As you can see, it's 1.2 gigabytes. That's a lot to install if you're never even going to use it. Like, I never want to have my OS in German, so that's pretty pointless to install. X11, I honestly don't even really know what it is. I always uncheck it and I've never had a problem. I'll install Rosetta because a lot of applications require it. Like if they're PowerPC, you have an older application, then this will make it work. So hit OK, and I will install to Hackintosh HD. And this is now installing. Mine on average takes about 15 minutes. It doesn't take like an hour like a lot of people think that it does. But it all just depends on your hardware. I mean, if you have a solid state drive, it'll go even faster. If you have, an old processor with an old hard drive, then it won't go as fast. But mine usually takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. So as you can see there, it says about 26 minutes, but I can almost guarantee it won't take that long. So I will let this do its thing, and I will be back when it's done installing. I also want to take this time to say that a lot of people that custom build their Hackintoshes have more than 4 gigabytes of RAM. For example, I have 12, and it is not a problem. Like, I am installing this with all 12 gigabytes of RAM in, so that's not a problem at all. Like, however, the first time that you boot it, you won't be in the 64-bit kernel, you'll only be in the 32-bit kernel. So your only 4 gigabytes of RAM will be recognized and usable. But once you install the bootloader to the hard drive through Multibeast and everything, you install the 64-bit plugin, like the kernel and everything, then you should, based on your hardware, then you should be able to just boot by default into 64-bit mode. So from the second you boot up your machine, you will be able to use all of your RAM, all 12 gigs, for example, for me. And also I want to say that this graphics card does work out of the box, but I usually do install a graphics driver anyway, just the NV enabler at Kext. But it usually does work just fine right out of the box, like I said. Like even right now, I'm getting 1080p resolution. That's just in the installer. So this is a great graphics card for a Hackintosh, a 9800 GTX Plus. I do recommend getting 1 GB of video memory though. It just makes things a lot smoother. Sometimes when I'm editing, I do run out of video memory. Like if I have, you know, Safari open while I'm editing high definition footage, while I'm, you know, watching a video or something, then yes, I do run out of video memory, and sometimes it does freeze on me and I have to restart my system. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you want to do a lot of video editing and you want to be like listening to music or something while you edit, which I personally don't recommend because it can be kind of distracting, but if you like doing stuff like that, like, you know, using a lot of video intense things at once, then I do recommend getting a beefier graphics card. But like I said at the beginning, if you do your research, you can get a great graphics card that'll work flawlessly. And one more thing I want to throw out there, this is 10.6.1. Like this is the first version that that was released by Apple. I ordered this like pretty much day one, because I do have a legit MacBook in the house. Actually I have two. They're not mine, but I do have, you know, they're two MacBooks, and I just wanted to upgrade them to Snow Leopard. So I did pay $30 for the original like release version. So this is not 10.6.3. This is 10.6.1. So if you decide to go this route, like I believe if you go to Apple now, I think they have 10.6.3 now, like shipping on a DVD. But even if you do have this, its software update does work great. You can just update right to 10.6.7. But like I said, it's all depending on your hardware. So if that doesn't work and you have to restore, then, you know, I'm sorry. But for my system, it does work fantastic. I can be absolutely up to date pretty much at all times through software update, and I've never had a problem. But I will say that sometimes if you do update, you know, for example 10.6.8 should be coming out in the next couple days. So when I update to that, it's about a 50-50 shot that I will lose audio. That's just something, that's a common problem with my motherboard, but it's as easy as reinstalling a Kext and you have audio again. So I mean, if you do like a I just said do again. If you do a OS update and you do lose like a graphics driver or an audio driver, many times more than likely that you can just go back into Multibeast and reinstall that driver, restart, and it'll be as good as new, like nothing ever happened. Huh. Well guys, I don't know why this didn't work. I mean, it says, I'm kidding, this is supposed to happen. Depending on your processor, you may or may not get this error. If you have a processor in your machine that's fully supported by Apple, then you will probably get an install succeeded screen. But since mine is not, I have a Core i7, but it's a 930. Apple doesn't use those, so I get this screen. However, OS X did install. It is on the hard drive, so all you gotta do is click restart. But make sure once you hit restart that you have your iBoot NVIDIA disk ready, and just make sure you get it in the drive as soon as possible. So you want to hit restart. Since this doesn't have a bootloader with it, like OS X uses EFI, that's why this doesn't work usually. But you have to get a bootloader that sort of emulates EFI, and that it will boot. And that's what this does. Alright, so I'm going to go into my boot devices. As you can see, Snow Leopard is out. And I will be putting iBoot to NVIDIA in. Now I'm going to stay at this screen for a second just because I just put the disk in. So we'll have some fun with these menus. As you can see, floppy, I don't have a floppy drive, thank God. Hard drive, CD, different USBs, you can boot from LAN. Very cool options on this motherboard. So I'll boot from CD-ROM. And you'll get some little code, I guess, that looks like that. And as you can see now, that Lion partition is gone, and I only have Hackintosh HD, so now just hit enter. And OS X is now booting. So this shouldn't take too long the first time around, and you will see the intro video. That's one of the beauties of retail install. Distros, they don't include that, I should say. So get ready to be amazed. If it focuses. Yeah. So as you can see, sound works out of the box. I didn't even have to tweak anything. Sound works, graphics drivers work. Okay, before you begin, it wants you to set up your keyboard, so you hit OK. On my keyboard, I'm holding Z, question mark, and then it recognized the keyboard, so you want to hit OK. United States, US. I don't want to transfer information, although you could. And as you can see, my wireless card works out of the box. However, I do use Ethernet, but I will still put in my key anyway. Alrighty, so now that my web key's in, I'm going to hit continue. Apple ID, I'll put mine in. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to create my account name and login information. So you can see, CPU kid, not a very strong password, but I don't really need one. Creating your account, blah de blah. Select the picture. As you can see, my webcam located up there is working. So we'll take a picture, I guess. Oh, oops. Take photo. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to use that one. We'll continue. Time zone, already knows my time zone. And thank you. You're welcome. So you see the dock flies in from the bottom there. And I will come up to Nya about this Mac. So as you can see right now, I am in a 32-bit kernel because it's only recognized in 4 gigabytes of my RAM, but I do have 12 in there, but it is recognizing my overclock. So, but as you can see, it does call it a Xeon, but it's not a Xeon, it's an i7. So now we're going to run Multibeast and fix multiple things. However, I do have Multibeast on my other hard drive, which I specifically said to unplug, which I did. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug this in just to give you guys some different footage out of the monitor here. So as you can see, here's the SATA cable. And right there, if it focuses right, is where I need to put it. So this is very easy. It's now in. Don't know if you can hear that or not, but you can hear the hard drive spin up. I left the SATA plugged in, but if it can't get power, then the SATA doesn't really help. So I will now be restarting my computer. As you can see my mess of wires in there. But anyway, I will be restarting and then we'll be running Multibeast. Alright, so I have just now rebooted. And if I'll go into Finder, you will see on the left I now have my backup drive over here. So we'll go into Documents, OS X stuff, Multibeast, and I'll go ahead and run the newest version, which is 3.7.2. Continue. Another thing you want to get from Tony Mac is a DSDT for your motherboard, and which I also have that, which is right here. So I'll go ahead and copy this to my desktop, which is where you want to put it. You want to put that DSDT file on your desktop. So I'll try to focus a little bit more on that. Right up there. And you want to rename it to dsdt.aml, nothing else. Hopefully you guys can see that. dsdt.aml. So now you want to go ahead and with Multibeast, and like I said, if you have to do your research here. That I'm just using settings I know work for my system. You do have to do your research, so you may not even need a DSDT, but most likely you will. So use your DSDT. Now we're going to go to drivers and bootloaders, kexts and enablers. For audio, you may need something different. Like I said, this is just a demonstration for the things I need. I'm not saying that you need all of these, but these are what I need. So I need both of those. That's all I need for audio. For disk, I'm gonna do eSATA and SATA for JMicron. Oops. Just those. Graphics enablers, NV enabler. That's, like I said, just for mine. Miscellaneous, fake SMC plugins. That's for if you use iStat menus, things that in your computer report back to you, for example, your disk usage, your processor temperatures, stuff like that. If you really want to monitor that, I really do, since I overclock and everything, so I want to make sure my system is always running at a nice temperature, so I like to have that. So fake SMC is a must. Network, I want to say my Ethernet does not work out of the box. I do have to install a Kext, but I just use that right there, the first one. Bootloaders, this is probably the most important part. Once you install this, you will have 64-bit. Well, I really shouldn't say that, but you'll be able to boot from the hard drive. You won't need that iBoot disk anymore. So I don't really use Chimera, I just use Chameleon. So we'll go with that. Customization, boot options, iBoot 64-bit Apple boot screen. So this will boot you into 64-bit every time, and graphics enabler is set to yes. So it means I'll have the full res of my graphics card, everything will work great. System definitions, I like to have mine match the Mac Pro, I believe 4.1. Generation 4, I believe, Mac Pro. Themes, I don't really ever use themes. And software, you might want to install Kext Helper. You don't have to, just, my 2 cents. So make sure all those things are checked, like I said, at least for me, but do your research, make sure you have checked what you need to, and you want to hit continue. They will be installed to Hackintosh HD. I want to install, put in my password. This really shouldn't take more than a minute or so. And the installation was successful. So from there, I'm going to recenter my camera. From there, since I did install that Ethernet driver, I will get this that comes up. This is just, installing stuff for my Ethernet, so in case you need to do this too, I will zoom in. This is very similar to what you just did. I don't recommend the debug version, just do the release version, they know that one works. So we're going to continue installation. This one shouldn't take as long as that one. Even this one, Multibeast, didn't take that long. Alright, so as you can see in this one, I'm getting a restart option, and a new network interface has been detected that's saying that the Ethernet driver has worked. So the Ethernet adapter EN1 network interface has not been set up. So it did see that driver did work, but so I'm going to go ahead and cancel. And you see that restart option, click that. Your system will now restart. I'll just film this live. And I will take out my iBoot disk, just to prove that this will boot from the hard drive. So the iBoot disk is here, as is Leopard. There's no DVDs in the drive right now. And you guys can see what the Chameleon bootloader will look like. You can see it just kind of counts down. And there you have OS X booting. And like I said at the beginning of this video, those edges are still there, around the whole monitor. But once you see in the operating system, it's not like that. It's just the boot screen. It's just like the max res of the boot screen. Apple probably just figures that most people don't have that big of monitors anyway. So I don't know. Maybe with Lion they'll update that. Okay, so it has booted, and we now get to the desktop. So now everything should work. So I no longer need my DSDT. I'll go ahead and move that to the trash. And from here you can go up to software update. At least on my system, I can't say that enough, but on my system I can go up to software update. Everything just really does work. But as you can see here, I have both monitors. They're not set up correctly though, but yeah, you now have Hackintosh. Yeah, see, this doesn't work. I have to go to the right just because of the way it's set up. But I can fix that real quick. I'll just show you guys how you would go about doing that. Arrangement, here's the other monitor. Go ahead and put that over there. Set that monitor to a higher res. And as you can see, I can now do that. So very cool. I'll go ahead and show details on software update. I don't have many right now, But as you can see, 10.6.7 is here. Airport Utility, iTunes, just the installed applications. But I do have a lot of installing to do. So as you guys can see here on my backup drive, documents, OS 10 stuff. I have apps, I have printer drivers, some games. So I mean, I have a lot of stuff I have to install yet. But oh, and I will say quickly that Bluetooth does work. I bought a Bluetooth dongle, which is right there. That little silver adapter. So I can pair my Apple keyboard and Magic Mouse and Magic Trackpad. So that's pretty much it. I hope this guide helped you in case you guys didn't know what DSDT was or anything. Just a very straightforward guide. Hopefully this helps a lot of people. Lion is coming out in less than a month, and I have installed Lion. Like I said, if you saw my other video, I will not be doing a tutorial of that until the final release has come out. And it's relatively stable. People have written guides like for many different types of hardware. For my hardware, it was a little bit more trickier than this, but from here you can install Windows. You can, on another partition, you can use that Chameleon bootloader to choose between them. But just know, if you install Windows, then you'll have to use iBoot to boot back into OS 10, and then through terminal you'll have to set this as your primary partition using the disk utility, or a disk util command, I guess, in terminal. So, but yeah, before this video gets any longer, thanks for watching. I'm at CPUKid on Twitter. Also check out itechcity.org and at itechcity on Twitter. Like I said, I'll be doing more guides in the future, like with Lion and everything. And this does work great, so good luck with your Hackintosh. Let me know if you have any, I guess, general questions. Like I said, please don't ask for specific hardware, because just go to Tony Mac for that. Great website. Like I said, the link is right down there in the description. But if you have any questions about my hardware, like, if you can watch all my unboxing videos of when I built this machine. So if you have any questions about that hardware, feel free to ask, and thanks for watching.